Welcome to the section on communication. Speaking, writing, video, graphics, all different forms of communication. Now this is a topic I'm very nervous about trying to teach. It's a very difficult topic because you will all have been taught communication since primary school, since you were 5 years old, if not earlier. So what can I teach that's going to be new? You may not be good communicators, but that's not because you haven't been taught it. And my wife is a primary school teacher, and she spends a large amount of her time teaching persuasive writing to 5 and 6 year olds. If they can't write well, it's not because they haven't been taught. Also, many academics are, to put it politely, lousy communicators. So why would you trust an academic to teach you something that you've already been taught all the way through school, when academics have such a poor reputation for teaching well? So that's an argument for not teaching communication at university level. On the other hand, every possible survey we make of the employers of our graduates, they always say the most important thing they value are communication skills. Every job application will ask communication skills. Every reference I like, people will be asking about the communication skills. Our graduates always say the most important thing they wish they'd learned more of when they were undergraduates was communication skills. Students in this class say, please teach us communication skills. And we certainly see an awful lot of truly appalling communication out there in the real world. So this is desperately needed. So what are my credentials? Why should you trust anything I say about communication skills? Well, in some forms of communication I have a track record. I've won almost every teaching prize available, national, international, university. I've also won a large string of prizes for science communication, including national ones. I've given literally hundreds of very well received public talks. I'm generally considered to write very well for an academic, which is not a very high bar. And I've published a whole bunch of viral YouTube videos. So I have some experience at least certain forms of communication. But there are many forms of communication. I don't have much experience at interacting with governments. I have, however, in preparing this, interviewed 2 former chief scientists of Australia and many other people who communicate and work with governments. So what I'm going to say about that is based on their opinion rather than my own. I also don't have experience in business communication, if you consider universities are not a very standardized business. But I have based a lot of what I'm talking about on the book The Pyramid Principle by Barbara Minto, which is apparently the Bible of communication in management consultancy. That being said, no one is an expert on all forms of communication, so be duly cautious about what I say. We're also in the middle of a revolution with artificial intelligence, and that's shaped what I've been talking a bit about here. I will not be teaching you public speaking, how to give a good talk. It's something I've thought long and hard about, and please ask me, but you've probably done it many times at school. I'm also not going to teach you how to write better paragraphs, better sentences. Again, you've been taught that all the way through school. And also today, you can ask an AI to write anything for you, or to take your bad prose and turn it into beautiful, smoothly written English. I'm not going to discourage you from doing that. They're very wonderful tools. Instead, I'm going to focus not so much on the nitty-gritty of writing and speaking as more the big picture. What are you trying to achieve? How do you set about achieving it? What are the main things that go wrong? And the idea is that these sort of skills can help you tell your AI what you want from it. Okay, so outline. I'm going to start off by talking about some general communication skills that apply in any context, whether it's speaking, writing, video, podcasts. And these are where people go mostly wrong. The first one is know your aims. What are you trying to achieve? Second is know your audience, which is much harder than it sounds. And then there's a psychological theory called cognitive load theory, which I find invaluable, and many other people do as well. And then we're going to go on and talk about communication with particular audiences. We're going to talk about interacting with the media, something I've done a lot of, about interacting with governments and interacting in business environments. So let's start off by talking about your goal in communicating. This is something that people get wrong quite a lot. There are basically 3 goals you might have in communicating. You might be trying to inform your audience or influence them somehow. So that's like the picture up here in the top right. You might be trying to impress people. You might be telling them something, but what you're really saying is, hey, I'm clever, I'm brilliant, please give me a job. Or it could be you're not actually trying to convey information or impress people, you're just trying to protect yourself with risk mitigation. And it's important to think a bit about what you're trying to achieve. Now, all the way through school and university, the most common form of communication is to impress. Let's say you write an essay or you give a talk in a course. You're normally, in your essay, telling your lecturers things they know already. So there's no point in actually conveying information. They already know the answer. What you're trying to do is show that you are clever. I'm clever, I can write a good essay, please give me a nice grade. Likewise, most talks, you're not actually trying to get information to the audience. You don't care whether they learn anything or not. You're trying to look intelligent and clever and get a good grade. And that's bad because it means that people hit the real world and all they've ever done is try to impress. They've never really had to worry about whether they're actually informing their audience or influencing them. My general feeling is that the best way to impress people is actually to inform them. If you're in a business communication and your audience comes away knowing something important they didn't know before, they will be impressed. Whereas trying to show off about how clever you are, most people can see through that. That's my personal take. There are exceptions. If you totally focus on helping other people and don't focus on impressing, you might have trouble. But this is one of the most common things I see, people trying to impress other people rather than actually trying to inform and influence them. But a lot of the actual worst examples of communication are where you're not trying to inform or impress, but you're just trying to mitigate risk. For example, if you look at the library of policies that the ANU has, they've got this enormous library of policies. These are all unbelievably badly written, legally documented bullet points, very, very hard to read. But their purpose is not to be read. Their purpose is that when something goes wrong with the university, or they're being audited by the Australian Quality Assurance Agency, they can say, look, we have a policy about this. It's like those terms and conditions you have to sign off at whenever you sign up for a new web page or something. There'll be pages and pages of unreadable garbage. But again, the purpose is to give them legal protection. It's not to inform you. In fact, often the less you know about it, the happier they will be. And it's definitely not to impress you with, my God, these people are clever. It's all about legal protection. So that's the first step. What are you trying to achieve? And the most common mistake we see here is people trying to impress when they should be trying to inform. There are many examples of this. The most common one I see is people giving a talk and they will put in lots of long words and because they think it makes them look clever. Trust me, it doesn't. Or let's say you're giving a talk to an audience, an astronomy talk, say, and you know there's one professor in the audience. You might aim the talk at that professor because you don't want them to ask you hard questions. But by aiming it at that one very eminent professor, you might pitch your talk at a much too high level so you baffle the other 95% of the audience, say all the graduate students there. Again, I don't think it actually makes you look good. So being clear about what your aims are is really important and really difficult. And this, I think, is one of the biggest reasons why people's communication comes out very poorly.